Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Amy, would you take the roll, please?
Sure. Commissioner Dibdall,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin,
Here.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Straw,
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening. Is there anything anyone wishes to change? If not, do we have a motion to accept?
Motion to adopt the agenda is presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything under the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion to accept?
Motion to approve consent. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under unfinished business, second reading of ordinance number 1666, amend the public nuisance process. And Jameson, would you like to
Sure. Thank you.
address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the second reading of an ordinance. There have been no changes from the first reading. So the explanation that I'll recap from last time is that this ordinance modifies and defines our nuisance process. Currently, when we declare a nuisance, the property owner has a hearing that is obligatory before you as a commission. We notice in other cities that often that hearing is an option to the property owner. So now with this new process, once a nuisance is declared, we would be able to move towards abating the nuisance once the time period for them to appeal has passed. Other areas is it clarifies who serves the notice, establishes recovery of expense process and the process of condemnation, as well as a process to do the appeal. So staff feel this strengthens as well as streamlines our current process of nuisance abatement. And I'll stand by for questions.
And then just the one thing I'll add to that, it does not take away anything from the property owner. It just changes it basically from almost a mandatory meeting with them to their option. So they still have the ability to appeal, so. Other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve second reading of ordinance 1666 and then public nuisance process. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Under new business,
Thank you.
approved resolution 2024-09, annexation of lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3 of the Schlodweiler addition. And again, Jameson, Ryan, either one.
I'll present this one. So this is one of our standard resolutions for a voluntary annexation to the city limits of Madison. So this would annex 3 lots that have been recently created on the north side of Highway 34, just east of F&M. The intent is that Dollar General wants to build a store on the far west lot, and then the other 2 lots be available for future development. So after this annexation, Dollar General will still need to come to our planning commission to request a rezone, which would then come to you for approval of the ordinance. And so this is the next step for them to, I guess, move forward with constructing their new store on the north side of Highway 34.
Questions or comments?
Do they provide written notice on this, or is it just verbal, or?
The landowner submits a petition for voluntary annexation. Yep.
Other questions? And again, this is just, step 1 is, annexing the property within the, to be within the city limits. If no other questions, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve resolution
2024-09, annexation of lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3 of the Schlodweiler addition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10, approve the recreation trail master plan. Jameson, you would like to
Sure,
address
thank
that
you,
again?
Mr. Mayor. Last meeting, we had presented this plan as a draft document, and we have brought it for you today in its final form, asking for approval. To recap, to create this document, we had a substantial amount of public input, both in an online survey as well as an in-person open house in this room. And we feel very strongly about the input that we got and that we've got a good document here in front of us. So this plan ultimately sets out a lot of things, but I think the most important thing is the map that occurs about halfway through that shows where the desired locations for future trails would be. That map doesn't give us the authority or the funding to go forward and install those trails by any means, but it provides a vision for the city moving forward so that when developments occur in those areas or when the opportunity rises, that we can integrate a recreation trail into that project. It also provides a little bit backing for us as we go forward and looking at grant opportunities, which would be the next item on the agenda. Otherwise, not a lot of changes from last week. I will add that our new communications marketing director, Savannah, has been very instrumental in taking this document from a draft form into a final form. So it might look a little bit different today and a lot better in my opinion, and that's because of the input that she's had. So I want to give a shout out to her.
Okay. Questions or comments?
So this is, we're approving the plan, no definite path,
Correct.
location.
Yeah, general locations that we think that rec trails are desired by the public and that we'd like to see happen, but by no means a specific location or exact path that it would follow.
And as with any kind of a plan going forward, you know, it's always subject to revision, additions, changes and that, but at least it's a guideline, you know, from both staff and the public as to what they would see or what they would like to see in the future of Madison.
Correct. And a plan of this size and scope would take many years to implement if we were able to get it all accomplished. And so we would be looking at small pieces when the opportunity arises and funding is available.
Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve recreational trail master plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2024-10. Submit the Recreation Trails Program, RTP, grant application. And again, I'll ask Jameson to address this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is directly related to our last item. So there is an annual program that is implemented through Game Fish and Parks called the Recreational Trails Program. And staff would like to apply for grant funds to construct a trail around the new fishing pond out on Highland Avenue. That project would not occur till 2025. So we will know, I believe this grant award is done in late summer, early winter, and we hope to know in time for the budget season for next year so that if we do get it, we can budget accordingly for the local share that we'd be responsible for. The grant does allow an up to 80% match. Staff recommend applying for 70% of the trail as planned to try to show our commitment to the project and get it a little bit higher up on the list. Otherwise, again, main thing is it's 2025 projects, so you're not committing any funds to it today, but you are committing that if you get this grant fund, that you would partner with the Game Fish and Parks to get this project done.
Questions? Comments? This would provide a trail going around the fishing pond, lake. And would be a start, you know, on making that into a very usable public, park.
Do you have preliminary renderings or is that after the?
I do. So we do have the grant application largely finished, knowing that the deadline is in a few days here. And wish I could show it better for the full group, but this would be the rendering that we have that shows the trail going all the way around the pond. So the trail would connect back to Highland Avenue, south of the new City Hall location, south of the parking lot. It'd be ADA to connect into the parking area where residents could park and then walk on down to the trail and to the fishing dock that has been installed there. goes around the pond. It is about 1,800 feet long and estimated. And then we are looking at 9 foot wide so that we have ample room for bicyclists, joggers, pedestrians to be able to pass each other as needed. Total cost, I should add that, is looking at just under $500,000. So at 70% from the grant would be about $350,000. And then the city be committed to paying the remaining 30%, which is $150,000. We could also look at additional improvements such as a shelter, or there is a bridge that goes out to the island on the west side now, which we could look at replacing. And those are all items that the city would look at implementing on our own time schedule and budget.
Other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-10, submit recreational trail program RTP grant application.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 12, award the bid, Park Restrooms Project 2024-3 to Amert Construction. Man. Diane is bringing it around.
I still want to do right here.
Yeah.
Bids were received and opened on March 28th at 2 p.m. with 3 bids received. Lowest bid was submitted by Amert Construction Company Incorporated and came in under the budgeted amount of $200,000. The bid tabulation, while showing correct information, the bid tab within the agenda, that is, it showed correct information to show the lowest possible bid, but wasn't as clear as what I hoped it would be, so I've broken it down a little bit further on that handout for you. The bid was broken into 3 components: a base bid, which is all of the project except for the toilets and the sinks. And then alternate 1 was with ceramic sinks and toilets, and alternate 2 was stainless steel sinks and toilets. So what the bid tabulation on the agenda is showing is the total bid is the base bid plus the alternate 1. The column marked alternate is showing alternate number 2 only. Perhaps a better way to show this would have been to list the base bid in 1 column, the alternate 1 in 1 column, and the alternate 2 in a third. That would allow you to see the cost more clearly as I have them there. So the lowest bidder by total bid, regardless of what alternate is awarded, is Amert Construction with a base bid of $162,775. So the base bid plus alternate 1 is $178,235, which is one option for you to consider awarding. Or you can award the base bid plus alternate number 2, and that total amount will be $180,713, which is what the staff recommendation is. So the action staff would like to see is awarding base bid and alternate number 2, Amert Construction, in the amount of $180,713.
Thank you, Ryan. I'll just add that these would be 2 bathrooms, new bathrooms. We don't have any bathrooms at these locations currently. They'd be at Totland Park and Memorial Park. Right now, we have porta potties there throughout most of the year, and so it has been desired for some time to put a nice full-time, a full year round facility at each of those locations so that we can have restroom facilities. And it is within the budget. It is in the budget for this year at $200,000.
What was alternate 1?
So that would be with ceramic toilets and sinks. That amount was. The amount of that alternate was $15,460, and the alternate 2, which is the stainless, is the $17,938. So roughly $2,500 difference.
So you're letting us pick the fixtures material.
Yeah, when we did this out, we didn't know what the stainless steel would cost, so we did that option, so then we go along with.
I'd like to see this more often, actually. Like one critical decision you leave to us,
Yeah.
to break up the prices. Makes me feel engaged.
Mike, what are our current setups,
Oh, what's that now?
our current restrooms?
Porcelain. Most of them are dated 40 years plus. They've shown their wear and tear. That's why we kind of went with the stainless steel option, because then it'll be easier to clean and that aspect of it. I mean, can we get by with porcelain? Absolutely. But for durability and longevity, I think stainless steel would probably be the best.
Do you
option.
think stainless would be colder to sit on?
They're gonna be heated.
No.
But they will be colder, so. Make sure you bring plenty of toilet paper.
Bring my own toilet paper, noted.
And this is this summer, 24.
Yes, correct. We're gonna have Bernie spud the sewer, or stub the sewer and the water up with it, where they're new to the RD project.
Yeah, and Seventh and
That's Seventh and Roosevelt that's gonna come out. And then we'll have to tap into the sewer on Blanche. And it's deep enough that the city can't dig that section, so there'll be some additional expense with that, but I'm comfortable saying that I think that it'll be covered with what's left in the budgeted amount. And then once they get to the height, then the city's water department's gonna dig the rest of it, the water and sewer. They'll do it internal.
They already have water, Topland, right?
There's no water, well,
There's a hydrant there.
Yeah.
there's a drinking fountain, but what we wanna do is. Not to get too in depth, or, well, I guess we can, is to try to run both the ice rinks. Out of the service from the bathrooms. So when we're making the ice rink, so we're gonna run a 2-inch line to both bathrooms. Water line, so then it's heated, we don't have to worry about it freezing up, because we're always worried about the hydrants freezing. Pumping them down every time that you put water on the ice rinks and stuff.
So it'll save time for your guys.
Yeah, or we don't have to worry about having a frozen up fire hydrant either, so. Fire department don't like that very much when they need to hook to one.
Other questions? Good question.
I'll make a motion to award bid Parks Restroom Project 2024-3. To Amer Construction. For total bid base plus all two in the amount of $180,713.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, award bid Park Creek Walls Improvements. Site 1 and Site 3. And Jameson or Ryan, you want to address?
Ryan, I'll let you get started.
Bids for this project were received and opened on March 14th, 2024, with 2 bids received. The lowest bid for both schedules submitted was by Kessler Excavation and Dirtwork Services LLC. Their Schedule 1 bid. Schedule 1 is the Site 1, which would be north of 7th Street. Was $697,683.25, and their Schedule 2 bid, which is Site 3 from Egan Avenue to North Avenue. Was $1,898,113. Both of these projects came in higher than the engineer's opinion of probable costs. The difference was about $260,000, Schedule 1, and about $570,000 on Schedule 2 bid. After the bid, as is done with all bids, we sought to verify bidder qualifications. As part of this, a list of qualifications was requested by Banner Associates, which Kessler provided to Weston and me via email. Within this submission were examples of projects of similar type of work, but they were quite lower in value and scale on both bid schedules. They had some shore restoration projects which would be most applicable to this one. Those amounts were in the range of 110,000 to 136,000. And then other site work projects which don't draw direct parallels, but certainly show their capabilities nonetheless. We're in the neighborhood of the $300,000 to $400,000 range. Checking references has indicated to us that they were good to work with and responsive, so that's definitely a positive. With that in mind, Banner Associates in my office believe Kessler Excavation have shown they will be able to meet the requirements for work on that site one, even though it's higher than the scope of any work that they've submitted. But it would be our recommendation to approve, award, and schedule one to them. For Schedule 2, unfortunately, I feel it's unfortunately, have to make you aware that we don't feel Essalute Excavation and Dirt Work Services have provided proof that they're qualified for a project of this scale. Their largest shoreline restoration job, about 7 to 8% of what this project is, so quite a bit smaller. This project's just vastly larger in scale and value. So I feel kind of duty bound, I guess, to indicate that I can't make a recommendation for you to approve award Schedule 2. We're familiar with the second bidder on the project and we feel they are of adequate experience to do this job. Of course, this is your decision and we definitely support whichever way you choose, but I just feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't bring this to your awareness so that the most educated decision can be made. I kind of want to go over importance of completion dates on this project. I bring this up because although we don't have a firm schedule from either one of the bidders, initial discussions were shared that the sheet piling component of this project could linger into October of 2024. Now they can perhaps see what they can do to expedite this part of the project. It would be a subcontractor doing that work. But we have a completion date of this of November 18th, 2024. And by completion, that means all the work has to be done, the work, the punch list, the payments to close out. So if that sheet piling doesn't happen until October, there's a real concern. It'd be very difficult to complete it on time. So this is an item of focus for us always, but this project, there's a federal and state component. FEMA policy allows for a period of 18 months from which is subrecipients, and the city is known as subrecipients and the state is the recipient. So the subrecipient can complete the permanent work projects within a period of 18 months. That date ended May 18th of 2021, and since then I've been filing extensions on requests for extensions. Previously, that had been done through the state, acting as the recipient. They were able to approve additional requests if extenuating circumstances existed. And the State Office of Emergency Management subsequently approved under its authority these time extensions through November of 2023. That met the limit of what they're allowed to extend. So now approval is not only through the state OEM, but also through FEMA. So last year we requested an extension through both the state OEM and FEMA at that 5-year mark from disaster declaration. So FEMA folks were awfully concerned when we crossed that 5-year mark, which causes me concern about the 6-year mark. I really want to be able to hit this completion date. As part of the approval letter that FEMA had sent last November, extending it to November 18th of this year, they mentioned that if I need to submit another time extension, that we'd have to provide a pretty detailed justification and document all extenuating circumstances and prove that those, were beyond our control. So this extension can happen no earlier than 60 days prior to the completion date and no later than 30 days prior. So within that 60 to 30-day window, we've got to know if we need to apply for that extension. I have to believe they would grant it again, but I don't know that. And they would also send within the letter, if an extension were to be denied, then only the allowable costs incurred during the period of performance may be charged to the federal award. So that means FEMA would pay what had been done and the city would be on the hook for the remainder. They just wouldn't participate in that cost. I doubt that would happen on a project underway, hopefully nearly complete, but I can't guarantee it wouldn't, so. Yeah, I just want to give you all the information you need to make a decision on this, and with that, I'll stand by any questions, or Jameson wants to elaborate even further, and I just ask, how can I help you make this decision?
Other than site one being smaller than
Yeah.
site three, what are we asking them to do in terms of construction here? That's different.
Yeah, really nothing, I mean, it's just a smaller scale, so both
Well-
include,
But isn't site three and that going by the Presbyterian Church Foundation?
it is,
And
yeah.
that's where my concern is, and that is, you gotta have somebody who has experience in getting in close to the, facility like that and be able to stabilize that so that we don't end up down the road in that here with another storm and having the foundation of the church and that being damaged and the city being on the hook for
The
liability.
contractor's aware that's a situation with the project, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes,
Yeah, both projects involve, removing the existing rock channel, sloping that back, and then there'll be riprap channels instead of a vertical rock wall. And the site one there's a little bit of channel realignment, and that really comes to quite a 90-degree bend there and causes erosion. So kind of straightening that curve out a little bit. Otherwise, I mean, it's channel reshaping, it's riprap, areas of sheet piling, site restoration and seeding. So really the same work, it's just a much smaller scale.
So did design of this project start in May of 21? Or how are
It
we
started-
in 24?
Yeah, it started prior to that, so. Since we're working in the channel and we are realigning that site one, we are not going with a vertical rock wall. There's a process called a CLMAR. It stands for Conditional Letter of Map Revision. And then before you do any work, you have to have that CLMAR approved by FEMA, then you do your project. And then after the fact, you do a LOMAR, which is a letter of map revision, to show that your project did what it was intended to do, and that you're not causing the rise upstream or downstream to any adjacent properties. So it took a long time for that CLMAR to get approved. And there were submissions to FEMA, and then we get a letter back asking for additional information. And rather than one comprehensive list of things, you'd send in, and then they would tell us something else. And then you send in, and then they tell you something else again. So it just, the process broke on quite a bit. I don't think Banner would say that we couldn't have gone a bit earlier on these. I think we could have, but the CLMAR was definitely the thing that pushed this years ahead.
and that started when Chad was still here, because I remember him doing.
Yeah, I mean, so the initial 18 months, Chad's last day was in April of 21. That initial 18 months ended May of 21, so. He went through that first portion, and then we've been working on these corners and sides since.
Other questions?
So if we were to not award it to the lowest bidder, what's our justification?
I think you'd have to say that the contractor just hasn't shown that they're qualified to complete the work, that they're qualified to do a project of this size. That's our concern. It's nothing personal at all against Castelloot or anyone for that matter. It's just, to me, it's a simple matter of, have they done work like this previously? Have they shown that they can do the work? If I can't answer that definitively, yes, I feel like I need to let you know that. Now, you could still award it to Castelloot. And I mean, I've worked for the city of Spearfish before, and here we have, awarded bids in the past to those who, we question their qualifications or they didn't have quite the qualifications, and sometimes that turns out fine and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it results in contractor walking off the project and not finishing it at all. And then we're scrambling to find someone that can do the work. I don't sense that would be the case here. It's just a scenario that has happened. I think it could happen again.
What is the process if we award it to the lowest bidder and then they don't achieve the work? I mean, do we,
I guess that's where your liquidated damages, and that's the reason for our bonds and everything, then that would kick in and protect the city. Well, I just don't want it to be a situation where then we, losing FEMA money or.
all right, would their bond would pay for the work to get done?
You would,
I recall we had to do that several years ago on an electric project.
Yeah.
It was-
Yeah,
It was painful.
Yep.
But we did get the work done.
and drug it out.
Yeah, and the contractor's bond paid for it.
What are the liquidated damages, Ryan, on this?
I apologize, I didn't, I think they're $1,500 a day, which would follow kind of our normal.
And it would have to be done by the 18th of November.
Correct, yeah.
But liquidated damages probably wouldn't start till the following spring. I'm assuming middle of November would be the end of construction season or not enough.
This project, I think you could work on it throughout the year. This would be a project that had initially identified that they could work through the winter on, so I don't believe there'd be any winter shutdown. It would start counting November 18th and would stop counting when the project was finished. Sans any, weathered days or anything like that. I mean, if it snowed 6 feet, you probably wouldn't charge them that liquidated damage day, but it would be counted.
Now, and the other thing, other question that Ryan, that I would have is that, if we were to, award it to, Kessel, both of them, would we have a preference as to which site really started first?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
with the sheet piling. I think the sheet piling might drive, they're gonna wanna get to a point where they're ready for that sheet piling subcontractor. That's probably meaning that they'll start on that site 3, the larger project first, but
And the amount between the two sites?
certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not as concerned about the north side, as much as I am, the one by the church.
Yeah, that one's got
Well, not only that, it's in a trickier situation, and you just don't have the ability to move your equipment around as easily.
When could the contractor start on these?
We'd like to let them go right away. I mean, if we award this bid, we'll get our Norse award. Get all the insurance documents and everything and get the agreement signed, and we'd like to let them get going as soon as possible.
within a week.
Whatever it takes to turn around those awards, I mean, it can happen pretty quickly if we can get that out to them, they're very responsive, it can happen very fast. We'd want a pre-construction meeting to be held and go over a few things, but we would expedite that.
Okay, and I know, Austin, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Ask, is there anything you'd like to add?
I guess, when you look at the scope of this project, our subcontractors with the sheet piling really takes up a good chunk of this project. So when you talk about numbers of similar projects, really our subcontractors take up a good chunk of this project. So the scope of our work is really not super far off of those other projects that we've done. So, keeping that in mind, and I guess just another, being in our hometown, we're not going to walk off a project like that. So I guess those are kind of the big things, and I'm certainly open to answer any other questions you guys may have.
Have you had any contact with your, I'm gonna say the person that puts in the sheet pilings and that in terms of their availability?
I think there is a little bit of flexibility. We're not going to promise that. We have also looked at other avenues. We may look into some other subcontractors that maybe would be able to get in there at a little quicker time. So there are some other options available, but nothing. I guess we haven't really done a lot of digging just because we're kind of waiting to see what everybody wants to do on this project moving forward.
Okay.
And you're confident you can get this project done by the 18th of November?
Yes.
Your subcontractor does have experience with this size of a project?
Absolutely, yeah, Journey Group, as you know, is doing the admin building there. They do these types of projects on a regular basis.
The piling the whole way,
No.
No,
so they could do work
Yes.
without
Mhm.
that, so.
Yeah, I would say a good chunk of the work could be done prior to the prior to the sheet piling, we'll be ready for them, so it'll go rather quickly once they get in there. Yeah, no, it'll go pretty quick.
other questions? And then do we have anyone online and that from First Rate? Okay. If they were there, I would, give them the opportunity, but if they're not online,
Nope, doesn't look like it.
I have one more question here. I'm going through both bids here, and I see dewatering.
Sure.
I guess on the first rate side. What I'm reading is they don't believe that's required. Line 23 and line 29.
You know, when contractors bid these projects, sometimes they, might load some costs into something,
Right.
I don't know why they would do just $1. I mean, they're certainly aware that there's the potential for dewatering and I guess. Yeah, that's just.
That's how they structure their.
Not it's not a
They're-
apparently.
plan change order. I mean, that's what I kind of
No, yeah.
hope
not
we
at all.
missed that.
It's just simply how they structured their bid.
In the contract too, is that built in to have weather days with this too? Assuming this could be a wet year?
It's just based on calendar days. Mhm.
other questions? Comments?
And like he said, you take his. The $340,000. Filing and then the 1.1, I mean, those are. Not very big projects. In my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if you,
Taking all that.
Separate that.
1.5 million, yeah.
Mhm.
if we're going straight dollar wise, working. Project sizes.
Other questions? Comments?
Engineer estimates are from 2021.
So those engineering estimates are a little odd because FEMA will kind of push back and you submit your estimate, and they have, amounts per cubic yard of concrete that they anticipate, or cubic yards to move dirt that they anticipate. And when yours doesn't kind of match theirs, they ask to bring that in closer. So all along, we've kind of known that our engineer's estimate of cost was going to be low. We did know that. We were hoping it was gonna be closer than it is, but
So an engineer's estimate in this case is more like a FEMA's estimate.
it kind of is. It's an estimate that FEMA, has their opinion injected into. But the costs, of course, we pay 15% of this, so of course, any additional costs are, affect the city, but they affect FEMA in the state just as much, and they're okay with approval of a higher amount.
That has been communicated, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a question that I had, whatever, a week ago. And I had a number of questions in that, and Ryan got them all answered, and that was one of them that, yes, the city, if we went with the higher one, the city's additional cost would be 43,625.
Yeah.
So,
Which is,
so if we went with the higher one for, on section 2, there would be an additional cost. David, would you have anything you wanna, advise?
No, not at this point, at least. I think, the topic's been extremely, well covered by Ryan and Jameson. I think all of the pertinent facts are on the table, so I'm comfortable where this matter stands.
Thank you. Thoughts?
well, I guess I love having a hometown contractor and after discussing it more, I'm confident he can get the job done. And so I'm gonna make a motion to award bid Park Creek Wall Improvement Site 1 and Site 3 to Kessler Excavation.
I'm gonna second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you, guys.
Number 14, award bid number 942, 2024 electric distribution conversion. And Jameson, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a few meetings ago, if you'll remember, we had awarded a contract to purchase the supplies for the 2024 conversion project. And now we have bid out and are ready to award the contract for the labor on the conversion project. We had 4 bids, ranging from a high of about 828,000 to a low of 574,000. And the low bid is from MP Next Level. These bids were evaluated and staff and DGR engineering that helps us on this, both recommend awarding to the low bid.
Questions or comments?
MP next level, is that what?
Correct, yep.
That would be for 574, 368.
My understanding, they're a fairly sizable company,
Yes.
very well known.
Yes, I believe that the engineering company did the checks on the low bidder and we're familiar with their work and support it.
They've done past.
Yeah, here we go. Has successfully completed similar projects for us in the past. Recommend to award.
I'll make a motion that we award bid number 942, 2024 electrical distribution conversion to MP Next Level LLC in the amount of $574,368.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 15, award the sale of the 2014 Dodge Charger to Autos, Trucks and More of Chadron, Nebraska through Purple Wave for $5,200. Jameson or?
Yep, I can tackle
Yep.
this one. So these are a couple former police vehicles that we have no longer any use for and we're ready to surplus. So we sold these on Purple Wave. If you remember, we sold a number of public works equipment on that a few months ago and it had very good results. And based on the miles on the cars, we were happy with the bids we received here as well. So I'll just cover them both real quick. The 2014 Dodge Charger high bid was from Autos, Trucks and More out of Chadron, Nebraska for $5,200. And the 2015 Charger was Troy Christians from Brandon, South Dakota for $7,700, and we recommend award on both.
We have to do one at a time.
And
Yeah.
there are 2 of them, so we will take them one at a time. So
this was a public bid.
Yep.
Like, correct?
And I'll note since this is still a little bit newer for us, so in the past, we would advertise, put notice in the paper, follow state laws to have sealed bids, and we would open it up here, and as we found with the public works equipment, we had very low bids. And so we put them on Purple Wave, which is also a competitively bid public auction type
Auction
that
site.
anybody can bid on. But we also, in this case, again, we still put those notices out in the paper, just like we did before, but instead of saying sealed bids opened in the commission room, we said, the auction date closes on this date and time. So same process was followed, but now it's being sold through in the site. The purchaser does have to pay an extra, I want to say 10% or something like that to Purple Wave for their services. But the amount that they bid is the amount that comes to us. And that's, in this case, be the 5,200 and the 7,700.
So it's loaded on the purchaser side.
Mhm.
Do we throw a link on our Facebook page or anything?
I don't know that we have done that, but we certainly could look at that in the future to try to advertise it
No, I
around.
mean, it covers all.
It really worked out well for us on the highway department.
Oh, for sure.
So number 15, award sale of a 2014 Charger to Autos, Trucks and More, Shadron, Nebraska through Purple Wave for 5,200.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 16, award the sale of the 2015 Dodge Charger to Troy Christians of Brandon, South Dakota through Purple Wave for 7,700.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So Jameson, do they have to come up here and pick the vehicle up then? Is that how it works?
I believe it's on the buyer's responsibility to get them to us. Is that what you do the other?
Gary would know.
Yes. Okay. We don't send it to Purple Wave.
No.
Correct, yeah. They just coordinate the same.
Games, drive that down.
Hey, he's got experience in snowplow now,
Yeah.
so he can do anything.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And number 17, I just had to throw that.
Yeah, that's fine,
At 2 in. Number 17, authorize the mayor to sign the project closeout of the Madison Municipal Airport AIP 46, 29, 24, 2023. Jameson, you want to address that?
I think Ryan's had enough items off. He can take this, and the mayor's starting to give me cramp again, so I'll let Ryan take the chair.
I'll kind of lump 17 and 18 together, just because they tie so closely together, and we definitely need 2 items there, but, so we, meaning KLJ and the city, received word back from the FAA on review of the closeouts, and, KLJ is now recommending that the city sign these. From there, they'll send them to the DOT and the FAA, so we can receive the remainder of the grant, reimbursement for each grant. Grant number 24 and number 25. Been paid about 90% of that so far, so this would allow releasing the remaining funds. I'll point out on grant 25, the full FAA numbers, the BIL AIG 346-0029025-2023 as an amendment to the grant in the amount of $42,298. That amendment was in part for an electrical utility invoice that was added to the 2023 project. And was paid to ASCO. So it was originally believed that the BIL grant would be capped at the yearly amount for fiscal year 2023, which would be $304,000. However, when we discussed the closeout with the FAA, they reminded us that amendments up to 15% can usually be requested if all the costs are FAA eligible. In this case, we think they are. So we're showing this grant 25 closeout total of $346,298 allowable federal grant share, which is over the $304,000 original grant by 14%. So we're staying within that 50%. I can't say at this time whether the amendment will all be covered. We think so. But then those extra costs would otherwise be local shortfall would then be able to be covered by that federal grant share. So it would be my recommendation to authorize the mayor to sign these closeouts.
And then we also we're coming up right on the timeline of having it done on time. We were a date that we had to have this completed by too, right?
Correct. We're safely within that.
We're within that, so we're in good shape. Questions or comments? Hey, we're going to take number 17 first so that we do it in 2 processes. So authorize the mayor to sign project closeout.
Want to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign project closeout Madison Municipal Airport AIP 3-46-0029-024-2023.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, number 18, Jeremiah. would
I'll
you
make a
like-
motion to authorize the mayor to sign project closeout Madison Municipal Airport BIL-AIG 3-46-0029-024 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 19, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 9, Madison Water System Improvements Project, Phase 2A, Almy Incorporated. Ryan, do you want to tackle this one or?
Sure.
Sounds good.
This change order is simply final adjustment of quantities and breakdown of said quantities. This change order is a decrease from the contract price of $124,106.30, which puts the total contract price at $4,613.35. That's slightly more than the original contract price way back when the bid was awarded. But if we take into account the liquidated damages, the amount of difference between the original contract price and the final payment is within about $21,000. So pretty good.
Mhm. Questions, comments? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 20, discussion and action to approve the utility easement. And again, Ryan, do you want to tackle this one or James?
I don't know if this is Ryan's. Did you handle this one?
This is on the utilities on the ball
I think maybe
field.
this is me.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, so the early learning center that is planned on Highland Avenue at the city's current T-ball field has utilities that run through the property east and west. And before we can replat that as we need to for that future site, we need to relocate those easements. And so this simply provides the utility easements around the north edges of the property so that utility companies can redo that. It is our property. We're providing easements
To
to
ourselves.
ourselves, but also to telecommunications and gas companies that might have utilities in the area.
So you're gonna retire the current easements?
Yeah,
Acquired.
well, right now, where they run east and west is an unused alley, which is not part of the private property technically. So this allows the easements to go around our property. And then once it gets replatted, that vacated alley will be. Does that make sense?
Alley's vacated. And we're gonna rewrite easements around.
Yeah, right now there is no easement. The
Oh, there's not an
utilities go through an unused alley.
And it's city property currently, so we didn't have an easement. So what we're doing is we're giving ourselves an easement to make the changes.
What is that? I reviewed it, as did Nathan Zimmerman. Felt it was so.
Question? Comments? Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the rerouting of the utility easement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and then Jameson, March 2024 finance update.
Yeah, I'll tackle this. So this year, something that we've been implementing is a project update, the first meeting of the month, and then a finance update, the second meeting of the month. I'll be honest and say the last meeting I presented all these slides that we'll go through today, and then I forgot to put it on the agenda. So I figured we just go through these today. So these would be the updates that were supposed to be second meeting in March, which covers year to date through February. And then next meeting, you'll see the finance updates again that go through March. So I will have you go to the second slide there. So just the notes, general finance overview, we can always expand these in the future. I'm always open to feedback. I'll also note that Amy will be taking these over. I just wanted to give her a little bit more breathing time as she got into her new role. So this covers through February, we are 17% of the way through the year. We'll jump into the revenue guidelines. And these are the main funds that we see, ranging from the general fund to our utility funds, community center, et cetera. And we're seeming like we're doing pretty well, again, 17% of the way through the year. So some of these revenues, especially general funds, don't be alarmed, that's only at 5%. A big chunk of that is our property tax, which comes in about twice a year. And once that comes in, that number jumps up quite a bit. Other funds are kind of tracking where we'd expect them to be as well. Expenditure guidelines. Then,
When do those hit, the property tax?
when do they give them in the year?
Yeah.
Great question. I don't know. I know it's twice a year. I don't want to speculate. I can give that answer
I
for
was
you.
gonna say April and November typically.
Is it?
That sounds right, yeah. And then expenditure guidelines, so a lot of our expenses for many of these funds come through during the summer, during construction season. So many of these will be lower than 17% of the way through the year. In fact, nothing is higher than 17%, so everything's lower. And then I added some information here for cash on hand, so that you're aware of our liquid assets. Under general cash, when I was running these reports a couple weeks ago again, we had in total $23.6 million. A good chunk of that, about 18 million, is tied up into investments. Another nearly 4 million is sitting in a checking account, and then 1 million in a money market account. And there are a few other miscellaneous department-specific accounts that I didn't list here specifically. And then we do have some.
General cash, does that include general fund and enterprise funds?
Yeah, this would be all the cities, yeah. So we try to have a cash balance of at least 4 to 6 months, and we are meeting that. And restricted cash is 600,000. A big chunk of that would be reserves, is kind of where that's looking at too. So we do have some that's restricted, but aimed at specific purposes. Any questions for cash on hand? And then we'll jump to sales tax. So February of this year, we had $362,000 of sales tax, up 3.4% from 2023. So year to date, that puts it up 6.5%, with about $833,000 total coming in for sales tax in those 2 months. And then the last slide I have provides that visual. Again, the long lines are the last 3 years, 21 through 23, and then now we see 24 starting to track through there, still staying above. But every year we see a good drop in February from the prior month. And then, are there any questions?
Questions at all? Comments?
Good snapshot, right?
Okay, then we'll go to April 2024 project update.
Okay, so then for projects that we have to report on for this month, we always like to start out with the events. We have our ongoing events, which we like to list with the library, the STEAM, the music makers, and the monthly trip. And the community center still has their open gym at the Armory every Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. One upcoming event for this month is just tomorrow. It's a birding presentation at the library at 6:30. Speaking of the library, we're pleased to share that the library has received a grant for reconstruction of their front ramps. This was an item that was budgeted to happen this year, and the grant is going to help us along with that. It's a $20,000 grant from the American Library Association, and I want to commend the library, engineering, and park staff for all collaborating together for the design of the new ramps. City Administration Building, the latest there. We have upcoming milestones of the roofing and then the concrete floor on the second level of the building. Scheduled to be finished April 5th. First floor, concrete floor, April 11th. Actually, I'm looking to Ryan, are these completion dates or start dates? Completion date, okay, I was right, okay. And then the first floor, concrete, would be on April 11th, windows by the end of the month. And then we're starting the interior wall framing of the second floor next week, the week of April 8th. That's what I was thinking of.
Have you been in the building?
I haven't. Chief Meyer was in there a week or two ago, and he said it was a great look. And I'll note that if anybody wants to get in the building, it is our property, it is our building, and we're able to get an update or a tour of that whenever we'd like. I do hope to do that in the next week or two when I find some time. Yeah, if anybody else wants to join us, let me know. And if we have a quorum, we'll just publish notice, but of course, no action will be taken.
Just take pictures.
Estimate completion November 2024 as a reminder. Okay, the First Bank and Trust Sportsplex. We are excited to announce that the Gym Master app is live. So that is our mobile application that users for the facility can download onto their phones. And it provides the scheduling for the facility as well as making payments for your reservation and then providing access to the building. We do want to note that we'll be having a ribbon cutting and a grand opening at a later date. We're waiting for signage to be put up on the outside of the building. And once that's done, we feel like the facility will be ready for that grand opening.
Okay, quick question on
Yeah.
that one. Is that Gym Master gonna be used for the arm race stuff too?
No, at this point, it's just for the sports
It
players.
is, okay.
Yep. Mhm. Question. And then we'll run to the restricted use site. We wanted to make note that the permit for our new site on the west side of the county has been contested by some neighboring property owners. This is something that we were expecting. And so we have prepared and submitted our response to the contestation. The hearing, we expect to be planned for July or August. We do not have a date on that yet. If the permit is issued, then we still would hope to have site development occur this fall. We have finished up the design on the property and we would be ready to start bidding out for this fall, once that hearing is concluded. We do believe that our current site has sufficient space for our 2024 activities. So we'll keep filling it in there as long as we can. And then we'll, ideally, we want to cover up the existing site once we hire a contractor to dig us the new one, so they can do both spots at the same time. We are continuing the planning for development of tree shelter belts. The Conservation District is planning those. So again, that would be all of the east side of the property and then along the south side until it gets to the low area. So we feel confident that we will be able to receive this permit despite the hearing that needs to occur first. And we are planning to develop those shelter belts.
What do we have for development costs on the restricted use?
I can get those numbers for you. It is lower than I was originally thinking it was gonna be. The Conservation District is very affordable to plant trees with. And then we also have costs for the fence to go around the site. I can get those numbers rather than speculating.
So the Board of Water Natural Resources has set aside grant money for landfills and restricted use sites. Have we thought about applying?
I sure can look at that, yep. Any other questions? Okay, and then construction open house. So our engineering department is planning for an open house to the public on tomorrow, April 2nd, from 5 to 7 p.m. in the city armory. This is gonna be an opportunity for residents to come meet with staff and engineers on a large number of construction projects, and they're all listed there on the right side of the slide. Segments 1, 2, 3, 5A, and then the sewer relinings on segments 6 and 7, and then also the Park Creek wall sites that we've been discussing earlier in the meeting. So we have a lot of work going on this summer, and we are looking forward to discussing that with the public so they're aware of what's going on.
And I have gotten calls and that from people who plan on being there tomorrow evening, so that's nice to know.
And then speaking of our major projects, so some updates on these projects. Segment 1, this would be covering our 9th and Union project. The pre-construction meeting is scheduled for April 23rd, and they're looking at starting right away in May. Bose Construction is doing the paving, and they'd be looking at coming to do the second lift on 9th Street. And then they'd also be doing Northeast 3rd Street, the half mile by the airport, is they're planning right away in May as well. Segment 3, this covers the Roosevelt, Maplewood, 8th Street areas. And they have a tentative start date of April 9th, not too far off. And then segments 5A and segment 2, and this would cover South Union and 4th, and then North Union. Asphalt Surfacing Company is the contractor on both those projects, and they aim to start in mid-April as well. Of course, all these start dates are contingent based on weather, but we are excited to see these contractors planning for start dates here soon. Our electric conversion project from last year, I just wanted to note that the project was completed last year on schedule by the contractor and the staff, but we had all the overhead infrastructure that was still in place, and I want to give a shout out to our electric department for getting those removed. And so now they are simply light poles, but the electric infrastructure has been removed. And then finally, always like to give a reminder to our residents to please complete our lead and copper inventory. We are mandated to inventory 100% of our water service lines. And so there's the QR code on there, there's the website, scwaterpipes.com. We've collected well over 50%, I believe, at this point, but we need to get to 100%. And so we want to get the number up as high as possible before we resort to knocking on doors and more one-on-one methods. So please, if anybody has any questions, reach out to our water department, and we'd be happy to help assist in that process. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Very good. Hey, Amy, do we have any public comment? Don't see any one here other than the normal.
The regulars.
Yes. No, okay. Under announcements, I want to point out the reminder to residents. Today is April 1st. Sump pump water must be pumped to the street, not into the sanitary system and that, from today going forward through the summer. So again, and that, make sure you're removing your, sump pump hoses and that so that they're watering the lawn or the street. So
First sign of spring.
first sign of spring, absolutely. The robins need the drink. And our next regular meeting is Monday, April 15th, 2024. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good. Thank you, everyone. I may not be back for this one. I'll be here. Very good. That was gonna be my question to ask.